This is Kung Pao Enter the Minute. Minute 21. Opening frame. Wimp Lo, his arms crossed over his chest, looking unimpressed. He casually strides over to the Chosen One, proclaiming,
"Your butt that's about to be kicked!"
as he strikes a crane school style pose. The Chosen One rises up from his position in response with a awkward expression on his face. In response to this, Wimp Lo tells the Chosen One to
"Take a close look, 'cause I rule, baby!"
To which he responds with,
"And who do you rule? The large dark nipple people?"
We cut back to Wimp Lo as a crane student awkwardly flails at a punching bag.
"I rock and roll all day long, sweet Susie!"
The Chosen One doesn't look impressed, but Wimp Lo sure thinks that was a smart thing to say, further adding,
"I challenge you!"
We cut to the outside of what appears to be a temple. Overlay text informing us that this is indeed the temple. As we pan across the screen left, we see some strange creature that looks surprised to be caught on camera. What is this strange creature, and what role does it play in the grand scheme of the narrative? Is this creature tied to the fate of the Chosen One, or more specifically, Tungi? And will it aid or hinder our protagonists in their fight against Master Tang and the Evil Council? I guess we'll never find out, because it continues panning to reveal the Chosen One and Wimp Lo are standing outside, ready to begin their fight. Wimp Lo challenges the Chosen One to
"Leap that wall, if you're so great!"
The Chosen One sizes up the wall briefly before running towards it, stepping on a stone bench and effortlessly hops onto and finally over the temple wall, landing softly on both feet. Sorry, no superhero landing pose here, folks. Not to be outdone, Wimp Lo starts his run up to the wall, his squeaky shoes aiding along the way. He proclaims,
"Big deal, up and over!" Wait.
before spitting into the wall and landing on his back. Ling approaches to see the commotion, a look of concern on her face. We cut to a wide shot of the temples in a garden, with Wimp Lo and the Chosen One standing apart, ready for a fight. Wimp Lo and the Chosen One both clasp their hands together in traditional gesture of "I'm going to beat the living tar out of you." Finally coming to the closing frame, we get a close-up of Wimp Lo as his hands start to come apart, readying himself for a fight he in fact initiated, and will probably get his ass utterly kicked. So I probably teased this somewhat in previous minutes. I've kind of been waiting and I've kind of been dreading for this moment, because this is the minute with the worst special effects shot in the entire movie. Now, let's be clear here. I think I've said this before, but that was, 100 years ago, because we're still in the middle of 2020, and I know it's only minute 21, but it sure feels like it. I know I've stated this in 60 seconds to comply. We're going to call out the bad as much as we're going to call out the good. This one is fucking terrible. I'll pop in Steve talking about it in the audio commentary, so we'll get to that. But this is one of those shots that just does not look right. It is literally a floating head. This is one of those problems where you could probably think of like a dozen or so ways this could have been done differently, and part of you always questions, why didn't they just do that? And of course, ultimately, we'll never truly find out, because we'll never get a true insight into what happened there unless you were literally there when the decision was made. And apparently they tried all sorts of different things. Maybe just none of them worked. Maybe this one was just the one that worked the best of a bad bunch. I mean, honestly, I don't know why they just didn't completely replace Jimmy Wang Yu. I don't know why they just didn't have Steve Odekirk do the motions and all that. It could have been a cost thing. That could have been one of the last special effects shots to be done. We will probably never know, unless I can actually land an interview with Steve Odekirk. Steve, I'm always available. Please talk to me. You'll never hear this. He'll never hear this, so I don't know why I'm saying it. Either way, essentially, it's just bad. I mean, the blending is bad. The skin tone is bad. The expression on Odekirk's face is just ridiculously goofy. Doesn't blend very well. So a friend of the show, Connor Colson, actually put me onto the YouTube channel Corridor Crew, and some of the things they do is occasionally they'll fix a special effects shot, and this feels like a really good prime candidate for them. I guess with the technology at hand now with deepfakes, we could probably fix this. We need to get access to those original digital files of Odekirk's. Get the clean slate, as it were. And I'm sure with modern technology, even like on my computer, could probably digitally re-render this and make it work. I couldn't personally do it because I don't know how to do that sort of thing. But it is interesting to note that when this movie was made, this was legitimately still in the infancy of digital replacement technology in regard to film and movies, and Phantom Menace was only a few years earlier. Again, there's always been movies where people have comped themselves into things. I mean, I believe there's a lot of digital insertions and stuff, or digital recompositioning for the Star Wars movies, for the special edition trilogy, so that was way back in, well, they were released in 1997, so the technology has existed for a while. We're only really just now seeing what essentially 20 years of technological insight and advancement and staggering amounts of Hollywood money being thrown at this problem is starting to pay off. I just watched a video on Facebook, so I'm probably not going to be able to dig out the link somewhere because it just was probably buried in a timeline, about the digital evolution of the Iron Man suit. And that was, between 2008 and 2019 was the last appearance of the Iron Man suit in Spider-Man Far From Home. And how, the movies essentially went from a blend of, it went from 100% practical suits to partial practical suit, partial CGI, to eventually 100% CGI. I think the Infinity War / Endgame suits are my least favorite because they just look so fake. My least favorite costume in the MCU is Iron Spider-Man for that same reason. It just looks really fake. However, some of the other Iron Man costume stuff has been done really well. Either way, the technology using to incorporate humans and CGI has evolved. We could redo this. So yeah, if I won like $50 million tomorrow, one of the first things I do is I get in contact with Odekirk and say, here's money, fix this movie, 4K please. I don't care if I'm the only person who gets a copy. No, there are fans of Kung Pao, and if you're a fan of Kung Pao, why aren't you subscribed already? That was cheap, I know. But no, I think, I don't recall if I was bothered by this special effect the first time I saw it. But I know after subsequent viewing, cue the subsequent viewing song, no, I'm not going to put that in, that this one shot became unignorable. Every single time I watch this, it irritates me almost more and more, to the point where, yeah, it's the one thing I would change in this entire film. I wouldn't change a single other thing. I just want to change this one special effect. There's probably other shittier special effects in this, but I'm not sure if it's just because it's kind of a little bit too blatant, or it's just something that it could be fixable. And it's so jarringly bad. And there's got to be numerous ways they could have done this better. I don't know. I think all that combined is what really, really genuinely makes me dislike this thing. It's not a perfect movie. It's never going to be a perfect movie. It's very niche. You have to appreciate this kind of humor. You also kind of have to have a love of this style of movie. You got to have a love of this genre. So this is never going to be a mainstream movie. This is probably never going to get a 20th anniversary release unless somehow I manage to make that happen. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just be selfish. This would make me happy. This one fix would genuinely make me happy. It's not going to make a ding on the rating or anything like that. It's not going to solve world hunger. It's not going to be the one thing that unites the world together. It'd be nice if it would. But yeah, this is the one thing that just makes me go, why didn't you just make this better? What happened, Steve? Please answer me this. If you ever get in contact with me, please answer me this one question. Why was this the final result? Was it budget? Was it time? Was it literally everything else looked worse? Because I can guarantee you, this is bad, man. I've probably harped on way too long about this one thing. You know what? I do feel this is deserving of it. There's probably someone else who has more of a bugbear about some of the special effects. I've even noticed, now I'm going and doing a more deep dive analysis. I'm noticing things I didn't notice before. I'm noticing continuity errors I didn't notice before. Okay, so I think that's the thing with movie making in general. I'm not one of those people that loves picking out errors in movies. I don't like, you know what? Yeah, I'll say it. I don't give that much of a crap about plot holes. I think plot holes, if you have to dig to notice a plot hole, it's not a plot hole. When things just seem to go nowhere, that's bad writing. When things aren't properly resolved, that's also bad writing. But as long as it's that, I don't want to say entertaining, but I mean engaging, because there's movies where things happen and they never get resolved, but you can still love a film. There's also incredibly egregious what the fuck moments in great films. Raiders has been on my mind for a long time. That movie's peppered with some really bad writing and storytelling and plot holes and all sorts, but nobody ever notices it because it's an entertaining film. It's very engaging. Literally, how did Indy know to close his eyes when the Ark is opened? It's never established that that's a thing anyone needs to be worried about, and yet Indy just goes, "Close your eyes, Marion." Again, it's that thing where people love to point out, if Indiana Jones had not looked for the Ark, the Nazis would have never gotten the Ark. It's like Indiana Jones is the worst protagonist in the history. Nah, he's not the worst protagonist in the history of cinema. That's probably Jack Burton or Ash Williams. But who cares that Indy doing nothing would have made the Nazis not get the Ark, because then we wouldn't have had Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that's a movie we all need in our lives. If you've not watched it, you really should. It is a genuinely fantastic, fun film, and part of the movie is the adventure. Who cares about the plot hole? Because the adventure is fun, and that's also why adventures are kind of adventurous. Nothing gets achieved if everyone stayed at home. This is literally like the gag of The Hobbit, to a certain degree. If Bilbo Baggins hadn't left the Shire, none of this would have happened. Okay, look, I think I've rambled long and hard about special effects for this 1 minute. So, let's cut to the audio commentary, in which Steve discusses the special effects shot in question.
We could never make this one look natural for some reason. Watch what happens when he stands up.
It's kind of a Mickey Mouse thing going on.
Yeah, a little bit goofy looking. And this is our matched set here. The guy in the background is the guy in the background, the old movie,
working on a double
isn't doing
hernia.
any better than the background guy in our set.
We also have Paul pointing out that weird, strange creature.
This, of course, my favorite shot that we didn't manipulate at all. This particular shot.
That's right. This creature was out there. I guess it's some kind of an Australian bunny, from what I hear, or a rabbit. I don't know. Do you call them bunnies?
Well, we're theorizing.
I think he's one of the older ones, so I guess he'd be an Australian rabbit.
What that's all about.
But that's a freaky little creature.
Yes, it
is. And they're again in the ongoing story of the ongoing Kung Pao story. That little creature means something down the road.
Let's cut to the "What are they really saying?" section, where the chosen one exclaims,
"Your milk is extremely sour. I would avoid all lactation if I were you."
I think Steve has a fascination with Wimp Lo's milk duds. Okay, and finally... Okay, this is hard. This is genuinely hard. Almost all of the Wimp Lo dialogue done in audiobook form is great. But I went with this one.
Take a close look, 'cause I rule, baby.
So that is this for this minute of Kung Pao Enter the Minute. That's redundant, but I don't care. These outros are getting really long and I'm running out of music, so I'm just going to keep this short. I'm on Patreon, not that anyone's subscribed to it. I have Ko-Fi, not that anyone's given me a coffee. I have Facebook, I have YouTube, I have Simplecast, and now I have Apple, Google, and Spotify for all your podcasting needs. I also have a podcast called 60 Seconds to Comply. Go check that shit out where I talk about Robocop for minute by minute. Just please, like, share, subscribe, whatever viewing platform you're comfortable with. I would love to build an audience, but most importantly, keep safe. This has been a shit year. Might get better, but either way, Hope you and your family are going well, and I'll see you next time.